Hey guys, this is Echo Soundworks and you are checking out a massive tutorial on ADSR sounds. So this video is going to be just a tip and trick style video. It actually stems from a few questions that I've seen come through on the YouTube, comments on some other tutorials, so I thought I would cover this idea. So Massive comes with a bunch of cool types of noises or noise oscillators or just ways to generate interesting noise. If you're very, very new to synthesis, noise is something that you'll add to a sound to fill out the frequency or the harmonic content of that sound. So a lot of times, I guess the most common use of it would be with leads or plucks. You would probably use white noise, or if you're in Massive, you could even use the bright noise. What it does is it adds some nice high end to the sound and it can make it jump out of a mix. Now there's obviously other uses for noise, but inside a Massive, there's a host of really interesting noise sounds, but they're not always very musical. So you might have been trying to make a sound more interesting or have more character, and you could have gone about that by loading up a more unique noise type. But you could have ran into a common problem, which would be it just doesn't fit with the sound, and that's because it's not musical. So let's play the white noise real quick. That's white noise. Bright noise is a filtered version of that. Then there's brown noise, right? And tape hiss. Tape hiss is pretty musical. Then you get metallic or metal. And if you have the color up and the amp up, it sounds like a hi-hat. Right? Now, obviously, the sound will change if I move the color around. Right? But just for these little demos here, I'm going to have the color up all the way. Then you have amp. Again, cool noise, but it'd be kind of hard to fit with certain sounds. Then you have paper. Again, another cool noise, not very musical right off the bat. Power is great for basses. Waterpipes. It's great for anything metallic or brassy sounding. High metallic, basically the bright noise to the metallic. It's a little bit higher pitched or higher frequencied. And then you get murmur. Right, and finally aluminum. Okay, so the first three types of noise, the white, bright, and brown, they're pretty, like I said, they're pretty common, and they are fairly musical because of just how they sound. Now, a lot of these other types are not. So there's a way to get these to play nicer or more nicely with your sound. So before we get into that, I made a sound for this tutorial, and it started to sound like truffle butter, or the sound. It reminded me of truffle butter. So I ended up playing the little progression from truffle butter. I don't know why I did, but just bear with me. All right, so that's what we're working with here, and it's just to show off the noise oscillator. It's not some amazing sound in its own right, but it'll do the trick for the video. All right, so if I turn off the actual oscillators here, you'll hear that is the noise oscillator with the filter on and reverb and delay. So what you can do is to get any of these more interesting or unique types of noise sounds to be more musical is use this Keytracking Master macro control. Now, if you don't know what this is, it's going to add a little bit of pitch to the sound, or it's going to follow, rather, instead of adding pitch, it's going to follow the... So what the Keytracking is going to do when you apply it to the noise is when you hit different keys or bring in different MIDI information, it's going to give it a perceived pitch. Now, depending on the noise that you've pulled up, it's not going to necessarily add a pitch, but that's what it's trying to do. So for instance, if I have the Keytracking off and I hit C, D, now I'm a whole octave above the C where I started. I'm C4, I was at C3. There's zero difference in that sound. If I turn on the Keytracking macro, here is C2, and here is C3. There's a difference there. Now, whether or not that's actually a C and a C3, that is debatable, and you'd have to load up a spectrum analyzer to see what's going on. And with different noise types, it's never going to be as of a exact science as actually like loading up an oscillator and going from C to C3. However, this can give the perceived movement to the ear that the noise is kind of playing in concert with the actual oscillators. So again, it's never, very rarely are you going to get the Keytracking so perfect that it actually is moving with the exact pitch or notes that you're playing. But just having it move a little bit adds this kind of realism to it, because with certain types of noises, like if we do the murmur, and I just start playing, C, I'll bring in my oscillator, so we'll just... You can hear that it's kind of overtaking the sound, and I only have the amp at halfway. If I turn it up a little bit more... However, the key tracking, if you just turn this on, we'll play around with it to get the pitch that we want. You can hear that it's starting to move with the sound. And you can do this, you can have it up high and modulate in a negative depth. That actually sounds good. So let's go back to the metallic one because it's easier to hear. So that's actually moving kind of nicely. So let's turn off the oscillators and listen. And again, in isolation, it does not move with the pitch, but it gives a perceived movement. It's not just the same sound, so the ear's not picking up on. With this metallic one, for instance, depending on how high you have the color, it just sounds like a hi-hat. So it'd be like playing a hi-hat on every one of these rhythmic values, which would be really weird if you listen to this rhythm. But adding this key tracking macro can help you use some of the more unique noise types inside of Massive. So there is that tip and trick, guys. If you have any questions or comments, let me know below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.